Hey guys, what's going on? Zuko back with another Shadowlands video. I hope you're all doing really well. I hope you're all having a great day. I hope you got your coffee. Sit back and relax. We are going to do a news wrap up once again. I think the last one I did was only like 4 or 5 days ago, but there's been so many more things happening. It's just happening every single day. There's stuff going on. So I got a bunch of news articles I want to talk to you guys about a couple in-game mechanics that I want to go over. And yeah, we're gonna just jump into it. Let me just get this over here. Actually, let's do that. I'm just gonna put Twitch up over here so that I can see what's going on. Okay, so let me get my notes, and I've got things I want to go over. I'm gonna talk about the mechanic in Mythic Plus. We're going to talk about the Mythic Plus new seasonal mechanic. I'm just going to talk about that for a second. We're going to talk about some gear that you can expect to get from Sepulchre, the first one. Some really, really cool gear is coming. Okay. Then we're going to talk about tier sets and how you acquire them. Now, there's been some huge news about that. If you guys have probably seen it happen yesterday or the day before. We're going to talk about that. Really important there. We're going to talk about the boosting communities post that just came out like 20 minutes ago. I'm going to talk about that for a second. And then there's a Raider.io new function that I'm going to show you. And there's one last thing that I'm going to tell you at the end, and I'm going to keep it a secret until we get there. Okay? So, buckle up, grab your coffee. Let's get into it. First and foremost, let's talk about the mechanics that are happening in Mythic Plus. So, this is a dungeon that I was doing. You guys have seen the plus 15 hulls that we've done a couple times. This is an elemental shaman. I have chain harvest here, and I just want you to watch this video, and I want you to see the cooldown reduction that happens on my chain harvest ability.
Guys,
Look in the bottom there. But I should cast chain harvest right now. Chain harvest.
big damage.
Watch chain harvest cooldown. Look at it go! Oh, we got cooldown reduction. Oh my god, look at chain harvest. Look at it go down. I needed to cast it sooner, but anyway.
It was going down faster before.
So, you can see how quickly that went down. What people are talking about right now, what people are sort of frustrated about on the forums and stuff like that, is they think that this mechanic is completely bugged. So, what it's supposed to give you, the buff right now gives you 200% cooldown reduction, and it's supposed to give it to all of your abilities. So it gives you 200% cooldown reduction on everything. But they think that it's happening way, way more for the things like the Covenant abilities, all 4 of the Covenant abilities. They think that it's sort of cheating with the Covenant abilities a little bit. Let's watch it one more time. I mess it up, but I should cast Chain Harvest right now. Chain Harvest.
Big damage.
Watch Chain Harvest cooldown. Look at it go! So you can see, if I pause, I'm going to go back just for 1 second. What I want you to see is, you saw how fast Chain Harvest was going down, right? On top of that, I want you to see how fast Stormkeeper goes down. Stormkeeper is just like a regular ability. Watch. So look at Chain Harvest.
Big damage.
Watch Chain Harvest cooldown. See how fast it goes? Now look at Stormkeeper. Look at Stormkeeper. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 50. So,
oh my god, look at Chain Harvest.
So you can see that the Chain Harvest cooldown, which is a Covenant ability, and all the Covenant abilities seem to be cooling down like 4 or 5 times faster than they should be, I think, according to this buff. So, what with the relative power that we are seeing right now with the 200% cooldown reduction buff might not be actually quite as strong if they do in fact patch it and fix it up. Now, I don't know if this is just, it's probably a bug and it's probably going to get fixed, so that's something that we will have to keep our eyes on. It would be really sad if that was true, but I think that it's probably going to get fixed. I think it's something that is not, it's not meant to go that quick, because it just makes the Covenant abilities like ridiculously strong, and some of them are just OP. So it just depends on how Blizzard wants to make this work. If the cooldown reduction one only functions the way that I was seeing it on Stormkeeper, then it's kind of bad. Because like Stormkeeper, it says it gives you 200% cooldown reduction, which means it should cool down twice as fast as it normally does. Which means instead of cooling down 1 second every second, it should cool down 2 seconds every second. Does that make sense? So it should have given me like 20 seconds off of my Stormkeeper cooldown instead of I think it only ended up giving me like 18 here. No, I didn't. It's because I didn't cast Stormkeeper right away. So if the 200% cooldown reduction buff only gives you like 20 seconds on all of your cooldowns, that's not that great, honestly. It's not actually that broken. So we'll have to see where they go with this. I hope that they make it a little bit stronger than just the 200%, but obviously fix the Covenant. The Covenant stuff is completely broken, but like I'm hoping that they're able to fix that part, but maybe buff the other side of it. Like maybe make it 300% cooldown reduction. Like for every 1 second that passes, give us 3 seconds off of all of our cooldowns. I don't know. It just seems like this. If they're gonna nerf this buff, in terms of the Covenant abilities, then it's gonna be actually maybe kind of bad. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Um, but that's the first thing I want to talk about. There are certain classes that are going to really benefit, I think, from the cooldown reduction guy. If you have classes that have low cooldowns, like 1 minute to 40-second cooldowns, like anybody running Mechanicos that has a 40-second cooldown because of the AoE on their Covenant ability, or like all that kind of stuff. Getting 20 to 30 to 40 seconds off of that cooldown, depending on how they change the buff, is going to be really, really strong. So those classes moving into 9.2, I think particularly the Kyrian people with the Mechanicos buff might be really strong. But we'll have to wait and see what they do with it. It's currently kind of bugged, I think. So yeah, let's move forward. Get that over here. Let's get rid of that. I'm going to bring this next thing over, which is I've compiled a list of Sepulcher of the first one loot drops. There's some really cool stuff in here that I want to go over. So there's a couple pages of stuff. So these are just items that you can get out of the raid. So let's start with this shield here. This increases your block by 127, which I think is really cool. That's a neat like thing that we haven't had in a long time, just getting block. And then you can shield the most injured member of your party for a large amount, 32,000 health, every minute and a half. And then it switches to offensive mode. I don't really know what offensive mode does. I couldn't quite find it in the there's not, it doesn't. There aren't two different shields that drop. It's just the one shield that drops. So I don't know what offensive mode does. Maybe it increases your crit instead, and then causes you to be able to do damage instead of healing. But either way, I love this shield for like a tank spec. This is super cool. You can shield. It just says the most injured party member, a member of your party. So it must just pick whoever is the lowest, and it gives them a shield, which is very efficient healing. So it's good, and the block's cool. World Killer Chris is really interesting. This gives you all the secondary stats, except for versatility, all the secondary stats at like a reduced value. So like if you saw a regular neck piece in 9.2, when it gets to like eye level 285, it's going to be giving you like 250 or 260 of one stat, let's say 250 crit, and then like 80 haste or something. That'd be the breakdown there. But instead, this one gives you all three of them at like a middle ground value, which I think is actually kind of neat. So I think this necklace is kind of cool, and is just a different take on the secondary stat game. So if you don't have a secondary stat that you're like really gunning for, then that necklace is actually probably kind of good for you. So let's keep going. Architect's Ingenuity Core. Equip whenever a nearby Automa dies, your cooldowns recover 15% more quickly for, I don't know, 10 seconds. It's not showing the number there on the PTR, but where we can presume something like maybe 5 or 10 seconds. And then you can call forth an attendant who channels damage onto your target over 10 seconds. Excuse me. So this is interesting in Mythic Plus and in a raid. In the raid, there's all kinds of Atomas everywhere. Like on the very first raid fight, you fight a bunch of Atomas. So like if a bunch of Atomas are dying on the very first boss of the raid, then you're going to be getting a bunch of cooldown reduction back to back to back. Also in Mythic Plus, every single boss in Mythic Plus and a bunch of the packs have the new encrypted affects. And the new encrypted affects, guys, once you kill the 3 relics, they turn into an automa. So like you're going to be able to proc this effect, this trinket effect, all the time in Mythic Plus. Like pack to pack to pack, you're going to be getting 15% more quick cooldown reduction. I don't know how good that is necessarily, but it sounds kind of cool. Maybe over the course of a dungeon, it would add up to something. Gluttonous Guard Brace, you eat food faster, much faster. This was actually posted on Wowhead, and they talked about this for a while. So we have this effect right now in 9.1.5 with the Tormentors. If you've played the healing class, you know that you get a choice of how you want to augment your mana gain in the Mythic Plus with the Tormentor buff. One of the buffs you can get is like it'll spit out little orbs and they give you like 8% of your mana back. That's the one that I always chose because I don't have time to sit down and eat. But you could also choose, there was a power that let you choose this, which some healers chose, and it allows you to eat food much faster, which is cool. This is now just a permanent buff you can get on plate people. So like this only really applies to Holy Paladin, which is kind of silly. I'm not sure why they're not making this like a universal like if every healer class could pick this up. I didn't see it on any other class in the game. So, um, yeah, I checked actually. I already checked. I was just gonna go check, but I already checked. So I think this is a plate only, which is kind of strange. It means that like only holy paladins can pick this up. But I don't think it's going to be a massive difference. There are ways to get mana back in the new dungeon. The new encrypted FX gives you mana. The cooldown reduction, the 200% cooldown reduction buff we're talking about, also gives you an entire full health bar, an entire full mana bar. It gives you 10% of your health and mana every second for 10 seconds, which is 100%. So another good reason to choose the cooldown buff is that it also gives you health and mana back. So this might be useless, but it was kind of interesting to see them pushing this idea of being able to eat food quicker. Moving on, these are two rings right here that are only available for the Death Knight and the Priest. And of course, they drop from the Anduin Rin fight because this ring here, the Soul Rep Seal of Menethil, is all about Arthas. If you know, obviously, the story, he was the Lich King. No king rules forever, my son. At the end of the Lich King, in Wrath of the Lich King, when you kill Arthas, he's like dying, and his father comes in the cutscene, and his Arthas, I think, says to his father, like, "Is it done?" or whatever, and "Can I rest?" sort of thing. I forget the exact line, but his father says to him, "No king rules forever, my son," and then he ends up dying. So this is for Death Knights. Your damaging spells have a chance to inflict despair, increasing the effect of your diseases against them by a certain amount. You have a greater chance to inflict despair on enemies that are higher health. So imagine getting this as a Death Knight and then running the legendary that spreads extra diseases. That was the legendary that everybody was running. I think it's called oh frick, I can't remember what it's called. I gotta look it up. Death. I'm sorry, I gotta look it up. Oh, this is gonna drive me crazy. Da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Let's just go here for a sec. It's called Super Strain, right? So this one here. So imagine if you have Super Strain, your Frost Fever, Blood Plague, and Virulent Plague also apply the other two diseases that reduce effectiveness. Everybody was running this. All the Death Knights were running this during, like at the opener of this expansion, and they've all moved on to other things now. But Super Strain could be really interesting with this ring, depending on what this number is. So that's kind of neat. Really cool idea. Then the Priest one. This is obviously the Anduin Rin version, because Anduin and Arthas are kind of like two sides of a coin now at this point, right? That's what they're trying to tell you. So your spells and abilities grant hope, increasing your damage and healing by a certain amount. You have a greater chance to gain hope when targeting allies or enemies at lower health. So, this is like definitely a disc priest ring. I mean, it could be used by holy, but damage and healing goes up. Like, I think that disc priest could probably double dip on that, and that's kind of insane to me. That seems like a really, really good disc priest ring. So, say thanks to these people. Okay, let's move on. Bells of the Endless Feast. Your damaging abilities have a chance to smell the scent of a delicious soul energy, stacking up to 100 times. At full stacks, a swarm devours, chomping your enemy. Right, so it has like a thing. And then the bottom here was what I thought was interesting. Effects that cause your targets to move generate bonus stacks. So this is kind of interesting. You have a chance to get 100, stack up to 100. Once you get to 100, you do this physical damage. Essentially, if you can cause the targets to move, it generates a bunch of additional stacks. So if you're playing like Elemental Shaman, for example, you can do our Thunder ability and it'll move enemies away. Druids can push enemies away. There's lots of abilities that cause enemies to move away. So this is kind of an interesting idea. It's an agility and strength one. So actually, never mind. You can't even use it on LE. So that never mind. Forget about that entirely. But you could use it on Druid still if you take the ability to push people away. And I'm sure there's lots of other classes that obviously have mechanics that can push people. Hunters, marksman hunters have like the scatter shot where they can push people away. So there's a bunch of things that you could use this on, and I wonder how many stacks it builds up, how quickly if you end up moving people. Cache of acquired treasures. Periodically rummage through a cache, finding a new stolen weapon. You can grab the weapon from the cache, gaining its benefit. We have no idea what these benefits are, but I love this kind of trinket. This is super cool. So We'll have to see kind of what this is, a 3-minute cooldown. So clearly the benefit from this is going to be rather large. So very cool idea there. Moving forward, Intensity Core. Whenever a nearby automa dies, once again, automa's dying, you exude ephemera, healing up to 5 nearby allies for that much health. And then you can obviously use this as well to call forth an automa which restores mana to you over 9 seconds before expiring. 10,500 mana at this point is about 20% of your mana bar as a healer, by the way. Most healers have about 50,000 mana. So 5,000 mana is 10%. 10,000 mana is 20% of your mana. That's a really huge number. This is an amazing healer trinket. And of course, this is the brother slash sister trinket to this one up here. So it's all about whenever these automas die, you get the damage one up here or you get the healing one down here. So we'll have to see how often you could trigger this to get the healing effect. Maybe it's worth it, but certainly the secondary effect for healers is amazing. A 2.5-minute cooldown, that's pretty long, but man, getting 20% of your mana back is no joke. Moving on, affix a domination rune to yourself, gaining the power at a price, and you can add another one every 30 seconds. This is super cool. This is a really cool idea. I don't know what they're going to do to you, but obviously it's like a kiss curse thing, and it's just about whether you can handle the curses in order to get the benefits from the kiss side of this. So that's a really cool idea. Kind of a carryover from Sanctum of Domination with all the domination runes. Now, this is the last 4 items here, and they're actually the exact same item, but they're incredibly cool. I love this. I wish they'd done more of this in this expansion, but this is a Covenant-specific trinket. So, if you are Kyrian, the active ability says gain the benefits of File of Serenity and gain to 1,000 versatility. 5-minute cooldown. If you are Night Fae, resets the cooldown on Soul Shape and you get versatility. Venthyr resets the cooldown of Door of Shadows and you gain versatility. And then the last one is for Necrolord, which I think is the strongest one out of the 4. Channel your Fleshcraft, gaining its benefits and gaining versatility for 15 seconds. So the reason I think the Necrolord one is the strongest is because Necrolord, of course, gives you a shield. And if you have versatility, it makes your shield stronger. So if you're channeling this and you have the versatility happening at the exact same time, then your shields are bigger. They get bigger because of your versatility. So all 4 of them, though, are super cool. I love this idea. This is such a good idea to have Covenant-specific drops. They should have done more of this before this even happens. Like, I don't know why they didn't do more of this in the game already, but I love this. I think all these are cool. The mobility ones are really huge for the new raid coming up. There is so much mobility required in the new raid. I mean, all raids usually require some amount of mobility, but imagine just like Soul Shape to jump over something or Venthyr teleport over something like the Zymox fight when the rings are going out and the rings are coming in and the third ring is going out and you need to use multiple movement abilities at the same time instead of maybe using the portal that's there. I mean, there's some benefits there for sure. File of Serenity and Mythic Plus on Necrotic Week for tanks. This is insane. This is really, really good. You get the benefit of your File of Serenity. I don't even think it consumes a charge. I mean, I'm not even sure about that, but this would be like amazing. This is another way to get rid of necrotic stacks as a tank. So you can press your File of Serenity once as like a prop paladin, let's say. Then you could like do bubble taunt to get rid of it again as prop paladin, and then you could use your trinket here to get rid of it a third time, and then your regular File of Serenity is coming back again. You could use it a fourth time. Like there's so many ways to get rid of necrotic stacks with this. That's what I'm looking at for that. So very powerful trinkets, very, very good effects. That's all of them, guys. Those are all the trinkets that I had for you. So yeah, I think these are really fun. The gear coming out of the raid is going to be awesome. Like these are really exciting. And some of these things will apply to Mythic Plus as well. So, excuse me. I think that's very, very, very cool. Okay, enough of that. Enough of this. Let's move on to tier sets. This one here, right? Yeah. Okay. So if you've been living under a rock, you might not know, but we are getting tokens back. We are getting tier set tokens back. And what this means is if you're in a raid and you get a tier set that drops for you, you will now get a token instead. So if you get a helm, it'll be a tier set token helm. And what that means is that you can essentially trade that to other people in the raid if you want to, or you can obviously use it for yourself and you share it amongst your armor types. Generally speaking, is what they do. So I'm not sure if they actually talk about it in here. He says, we are switching to tokens. I'll just read this for a second here. We've seen a lot of feedback from both players in the PTR and our colleagues making the case for sets dropping as tokens rather than discrete items. While both ways of doing it have pros and cons, we decided to have bosses drop set token slots. Bosses drop set slot tokens in Eternity's End. First, let's talk about the design. Blah blah blah. Technical implications. We don't care about technical implications. Tokens are the magic bullet. We agree that these changes hopefully feel better. It helps to distribute set gear as equitably than discrete item drops would have. There's another. This is another experiment. We've done tokens in the past, but never with the full structural. Blah blah blah. So I'll talk about the catalyst in a second too, but I think the way that they used to drop back in the day is that it's essentially gear related. So if you're shamans, you share gear types with hunters. Hunters and shamans both have mail. So if a hunter gets a token and he's got it's like a helm token and he's already got his tier set helm, he can just give it to you and then you can use it. If you're cloth, then it's like priest, mage, warlock. You guys will all share. Is there another clothy? Leather is like monk, demon hunter, druids, and then there's the plate guys, right? Death Knight, paladin, warrior. Did I miss one? Three. I think there's 3 plate, 3 leather, 2 mail, and 3 cloth. So I think I got them all. But that's how it works. That's how those tokens will work. It's a much better system for us. It gives you some bad luck protection essentially from like doing the raid boss that drops the helm and you've already got the helm and he's just going to drop the helm again. Instead, maybe if he drops the helm, you can give it to your buddy in your raid group, or if somebody else gets a shoulder drop that they don't want, they can give it to you, right? So there is some help there. This is a really, really cool thing for us moving forward. So um, this might end up meaning that you should save your token reveal until you know what's in your vault. So let me explain this really quickly. This used to happen to us back in BFA and other expansions. So if you get a helm token from the raid, okay, you see it, it's in your inventory, you could click it and it would turn into a helm if you click it. Don't click it right away because I'm pretty sure that your vault, for example, at the end of the week can also have tier sets in it, tier set pieces, right? So if you want to wait probably until you figure out what's in your vault before you unlock um the token that's been given to you. Now, this might not always work because like there's usually like a timer on when you can trade the tokens, like a 2-hour timer on like players that are eligible to be traded to and stuff. But there might be a situation here where you end up having to save your token reveal just to make sure that you don't double up on something. But the bottom line is there are multiple ways to get tier sets now, and I'm going to talk about them right now. So number one, you can get a token to drop from the raid. That's one piece of tier set gear. Number two, at the end of the week in your vault, you can get a piece of tier set gear. And you could have just done PvP and Mythic Plus and raiding. You can get it from all those activities. So if you do all those activities, your chance of getting a tier set goes way up. So drop from the raid, drop from the vault. Your friend could give you a piece that you currently don't have in the raid, a token that you don't have that can turn into up shoulders or something or pants. Then the fourth and last way that you can get it is this creation catalyst that they've talked about, which is they talked about it a little bit up here. So we've been designing this tier function with future eventuality in mind. If you haven't heard of it yet, the new in-game transformer is called the Creation Catalyst, and it'll come online 8 weeks after the content update. Creation Catalyst will allow you to craft set gear that you haven't gotten from raid bosses or from the Great Vault, and it will also be a swift way to gear up an alt later in the patch. So let me save you some time here. There's an internal cooldown on this, and you get charges that sort of accumulate. They don't actually tell you how long it is, but my guess is that it's going to be a weekly cap. This is my guess. So you can craft tier set gear. Yes, it doesn't come online until 8 weeks into the new patch, which means on your main tune, you're likely not going to use the creation catalyst at all unless you've been severely unlucky and you haven't gotten it from the raid every week and the vault every week and none of your buddies have given you a piece. If those other 3 ways haven't gotten you your tier set bonus, well, 8 weeks in, you can use the creation catalyst to guarantee that you get yourself that last piece that you're looking for to complete your 4-piece set. So It's meant as a catch-up mechanic, and it's also meant as an alt mechanic because as soon as the creation catalyst goes live on week 8, you will start accumulating charges, okay? You will start accumulating like crafting charges from the creation catalyst. So the first week you get one, the second week you get a second one, the third week you get a third one, and on and on and on. And I think there's an unlimited amount that you can get. So let's say within the first 8 weeks, your main character gets all 4 pieces of their tier set bonus, so you're done. Then the creation catalyst unlocks on week 8. You don't even need to use it anymore. That's fine. Week 8 goes by, 9 goes by, 10 goes by, week 11 goes by. Now you have 4 charges of tier set bonus, of tier set pieces in your creation catalyst. You get on your alt that you haven't geared up at all, you walk them into the creation catalyst, and you can create 4 pieces of gear for your alt because it's account wide. That's what the idea, that's the intention of the creation catalyst. The first 8 weeks of this patch, it's not meant for you to use the creation catalyst. You're meant to get your tier set bonuses from the raid, from a friend in the raid, or from the weekly vault. Those are your 3 ways to do it. Once the 8 weeks is up, though, you start getting these charges, and you can use them on your characters as bad luck protection on your main character if you're missing that one piece, or you can start immediately gearing up an alt character and just give them tier set bonuses without them having to go do any of the content at all. So it's very, very cool. It's very cool. This is a great system. Back in Legion, for example, we didn't have this, and everybody just had to hope to get lucky with the legendaries in Legion, and that was a nightmare. I don't know if you guys remember playing Legion. I didn't get my legendary till like it was irrelevant. I had already cleared most of the content. Like that's how long it took for me to get my legendary back then. So now they're doing this. They've learned their lessons, and with the tier set bonuses coming in, they are making it so that you have a guaranteed way of getting it. So very cool stuff. Blizzard is definitely learning from the mistakes of the past, and we're getting the benefit from that. So moving forward, let's move on to this next post here. So we got the boosting communities post. This just came out like 4 hours ago. So it's very fresh, very, very fresh. And I'm going to just get to these things in a minute because there's some important edits here. Okay, so here's their post. As of today, we will now prohibit organizations who offer boosting, matchmaking, escrow, and other non-traditional services, including those offered for gold. World of Warcraft accounts found in violation of this policy are subject to account actions, including the permanent closure of a disruptive World of Warcraft account. Organizations operating across multiple realms and excessively advertising non-traditional in-game sales are contrary to the terms and conditions of the Blizzard end user ULA. This policy does not restrict individuals or guilds from using the provided in-game tools, i.e. the trade chat channel, to buy or sell in-game items or activities for in-game currency. However, boosting communities, especially those who operate across multiple realms, are no longer permitted. So this last part is really, really important, and they do some clarification, I believe, at the top. Actually, they clarified here, I think. I believe cross-run boosting and disallowed on summer. Organizations who disruptively advertise across all realms and establish escrow services are the primary targets of this policy update. Guilds and individuals who are inviting players from another realm to join them in traditional game activities in exchange for gold are allowed as they were before. And then they say, would that include things like GDKP runs, where the player benefits financially off of other people? That depends on the definition of financially. If it means in exchange of gold only without a middleman entity, then it sounds like the same sort of guild activities players have been enjoying for 17 years. So here's what they're saying. People were setting up entire guilds and communities just to sell runs, like Mythic Plus runs and raid runs, in order to make money for like, on WoW tokens and stuff, right? So they're saying they're trying to get rid of those like sort of predatory communities that just spam advertisements in chat all the time. You guys have seen them in game. I know you've seen them. They're trying to get rid of that style of advertising and that style of selling in World of Warcraft. It doesn't have a place. What they're allowing still is if you're in a current guild, you can boost people and guilds can still sell carries, and it only prohibits the organization of the boosting communities. So especially those that operate on multiple realms. So what they're saying is if you're on Storm Rage and you have a guild like I do, and you've cleared the raid on heroic, and now you feel like you've got your chops and you know how to do it, and you can still sell that heroic run to new people who want to come in and pay you 20,000 gold or 30,000 gold, whatever it's going for. Has to be in-game gold, obviously. You can still do that kind of activity. Or if you've cleared all the Mythic Plus dungeons on plus 20, and now you want to sell plus 15 runs to people because you're really good at the game and you can do that, you can still sell that for like 10 or 20k gold, whatever you were doing before. So that stuff is not gone. It's these like big communities on Discord and like guilds that are only established for the purpose of selling. They're trying to get rid of that stuff. So that's the boosting community stuff out of the way, and I'm really happy. It's a good change. Let's kill that one as well. Two more things, guys. We got the Raider.io recruitment panel over here that I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to get to the last thing on the list. But for now, this is pretty cool. Here's what you can do. You can now go to Raider.io and set up a recruitment thing, and you can see I've set up this is my like profile, and I've written in here all the different details of what I might be looking for. So if you don't have a guild and you're now looking for a guild to get on board with moving into patch 9.2, and let's say you want to take rating really seriously, you want to get to like the mythic level of rating and get it all done, you can go in here and create a profile, and you can tell them exactly what days of the week you want to raid. You can tell them exactly what time of the night you're available to raid. Boom, I've got it 3 days a week, 3 hours a day. This is my time frame, these are my days, blah blah blah. I can tell them I'm interested in mid-core, hardcore rating. You can go like soft-core, like just casual. I have leadership experience. I'm willing to do cross realm. I'm willing to do realm transfer. I'm willing to do faction transfer. My language is primarily English. It has all of these different options, which is really cool. You can do a little snippet. I'm a committed raider with lots of experience looking for a team that is serious slash enjoys playing together. That's sort of my little snippet there. So my profile goes up onto Raider.io, and now I can search for guilds. And it will show me guilds that kind of fit my profile. So you can see here, Scam Likely on US Illidan, it tells me what they've done. Their prog, 3 out of 10. Here's another one, AOTC and Chill, best 10 out of 10 heroic. Here's a Mythic guild, Gigabias, 6 out of 10 heroic. Wing It is 10 out of 10, oh, sorry, Mythic. Wing is 10 out of 10 Mythic, that's pretty cool. Tells you the average Mythic Plus score. So you can see, like, if you're just interested in doing Mythic Plus, you'll want to join a guild that is really has high Mythic Plus scores, right? That's your goal. You can see their item level, and then you can see how well their availability and their days of the week and their hours match what you've set up in your profile. And you can just click on these guys and you can apply to be in these guilds. So again, all the tags as well. Alt friendly, mid-core, hardcore, cross realm. Very, very cool. This is awesome. So instead of just having to do this like in game now, or I don't know if you've ever started a new character in WoW and you immediately get spammed by like 10 or 20 people being like, join this guild, and you're just like, oh, stop it. I want to find like a real guild that I can raid with. This is a new amazing option that is now on Raider.io. It's this recruitment panel right here. So go here, guys, and set up your profile and get searching. You can search for guilds that might want to recruit you. Or if you're a very, very good player and you have some incredible stats, like your Mythic Plus score is like above 2,500 and you've cleared 10 out of 10 Mythic, and you for some reason don't have a guild or a community to raid with, you can put your profile on here and guilds can find you and they can send you messages and say, hey, listen, we think you're pretty good. Do you want to join our team? That kind of stuff. Okay. Last, but certainly not least, our final post to look at here is, of course, cross-faction dungeons and raids are coming to WoW. I'm going to repeat that. Cross-faction gameplay is coming, and it's coming in patch 9.2.5. There's so many things I got to talk about here. First of all, there's going to be a patch 9.2.5, which is like, we didn't think that this was going to happen. So I wonder what else they're going to throw into that patch. Maybe this is just for this. I mean, 9.2.5 means it's like a middle of the road patch. It's not like a huge content patch. But the point is, we thought this expansion was over at 9.2, but it looks like they're going to add in a 9.2.5 for this feature in particular, and they might add more features. Who knows? Like maybe they add in some other quality of life stuff. I don't really know. But the point is, it's coming, and that's actually just like really exciting all on its own. Blizzard has announced cross-faction dungeons, raids, and PvP coming in 9.2.5. Here we go. So times change, yada yada. I'm pleased to announce. Here's the gist of it. Crafting rule set in this new feature, guided by two goals. Dungeons, raids, and rated PvP have been at the center of the most compelling arguments for relaxing the faction divide. Yes, absolutely. This content is that, by definition, requires a pre-made group, and thus social barriers will have the greatest negative impact on people's ability to access these experiences on their preferred terms. What ends up happening, guys, a lot of the time is that people will like go to realms that are already populated, like Illidan, right, or like um uh Storm Rage for Alliance, sorry, Illidan for Horde, Storm Rage for Alliance. They go to these different places because they have the most number of players, and therefore you're going to get lots. Your queue times are going to go way down. You're going to be able to queue for dungeons and raids, right? So that is that is just like a thing that kind of damages the game, damages the community a little bit. On top of that, here's the next part here. In terms of in-world fiction and player preferences, there are decades of animosity to overcome. While we are excited to offer players a choice to reach across the faction divide and cooperate to overcome common foes, we know that there are many who will be wary to this change, and we don't want to override those preferences. This is about increasing options for players. Here's what's going to happen. Players will be able to directly invite members of the opposite faction to a party if you have a battle tag or a real ID friendship, or if you're members of a cross-faction WoW community. Pre-made groups in the group finder listings for Mythic Dungeons raids and rated arena battlegrounds will be open to applications to both factions. This includes Mythic Plus. When you post your plus 15 dungeon on Mythic Plus, Horde and Alliance will now be able to look at it in 9.2.5. Though the group leader may choose to restrict the listing to the same faction applicants if they so choose. So if you still just want to raid or Mythic Plus with people in your own faction, you can still do that. Guilds will remain single faction, and random match-made activities like heroic dungeons, skirmishes, or random battlegrounds will all remain the same faction. Okay? So that's it. um, this is what's happening. The functionality will also apply to legacy instances and is available at all levels, although there'll be several older instances that cross-faction parties cannot enter, at least for now. All the BFA stuff, right? Battlefield Desire Allura, Child of Crusader, Icecrown Citadel. There was a gunship battle against the Horde and Alliance, right? So this game for like, years has been riddled with Horde versus Alliance, right? And now they're really breaking down some of the barriers, and the content that is like probably the most played in the game, i.e., Mythic Plus and raids and PvP, the most done content in the game is now going to be cross faction and is now going to be much more accessible to everybody, which is a great change. Here's the final thoughts on it. Following the events of Battle for Azeroth, the Alliance and the Horde are poised in an uneasy armistice. The factions will still stand apart, and even as some of their leaders cooperate in the Shadowlands, countless members of each faction will neither forgive nor forget the wartime actions of the other. For every Jaina, there is a Gen, and it seems unlikely to change anytime soon. But why shouldn't players be able to make the choice for themselves, especially in cooperative settings where the story revolves around coming together to overcome dire threats? I mean, this has been happening since like Legion. It's been happening forever, since like even Wrath of the Lich King. There was some Horde and Alliance who were working together a little bit, right? So this has been happening for the entire game, and really it makes no sense for them in dungeons and raids and PvP to restrict that on us. So there is a patch 9.2.5 that's coming. There is cross-faction dungeon raid and PvP coming. That's really exciting. The queue times are going to go down everywhere, which is amazing. Um, I can't wait for this function, actually. This is just going to be really, really cool. I'm excited for it. So that's the last news article, guys. That's it. So, yeah, there you have it. We talked about the mechanics going on. The encrypted mechanic is probably going to change. It's going to have probably some nerfs happening to it in terms of the covenants and what they're cooling down too fast, right? There's specific buffs coming from the Sepulchre of the First One items that we talked about that look really, really exciting. Love this stuff. Tier set tokens are returning, which is very, very cool. You have multiple ways to get tier set pieces from the raid, from your friends, from the all the content you're doing every year. Sorry, the content that you are doing on a daily basis in your vault. And of course, now the creation catalyst is coming in to help buffer if you have really bad luck for the bad luck protection, right? So That's really cool. The boosting communities are going to be gone. The Raider.io stuff is looking really cool. You can now have an easier way to find a guild that you're looking for that has some serious stuff that you're trying to do. Maybe you're trying to do raiding or Mythic Plus. And you want to find a group of people that are like-minded. It's easier to do that now. And cross-faction gameplay is coming in 9.2.5, and there's going to be a 9.2.5 patch. So lots of very cool stuff, guys. I'm excited. There is your news wrap up for just the last 4 days. Man, there's so many things happening, but that's it. That's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. If you like the stuff that's going on here, continue to do so, and I will continue to give you guys as much content as I can. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.